Good morning. It's Monday, the 14th of March. I can't believe it. And we're doing our essential emotions discussion. So I'm excited to hear how you guys' weekend went, any recovery wins or emotional breakthrough you'd like to share. Oh, here's Shannon. Hey, Shannon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Do you have any emotional breakthrough you'd like to share or just to check in?
Yes, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes I work so hard and my body just shuts down. So my body shut down. And it's interesting because my mom is 80 years old today. And Saturday we had this, you know, event at a restaurant where all my sister from California, so her children, the grandchildren, and the great grandchildren, everyone was there. And oh yeah, and so that scared me when I saw myself. But I was out of it. My body was shut down. I couldn't hardly do anything. So I had to send my husband and my children. I couldn't go. And then Sunday they had a caravan and I couldn't go because I having a big trip that I'm taking on Thursday. So I say all that to say that was tough because normally I would have gone sick. Normally I would have gone sick, and then the big event that I had once a year in Pittsburgh, I wouldn't have been able to go because I would have. So that's a breakthrough for me, although I'm still feeling little weird because it's like, oh my gosh, my mom's 80th birthday and I haven't been around because I've been taking care of myself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in awe of you. That's a big, because just because it's an 80th birthday, I mean, you've been around this whole time, we build something up like it's so important, but ultimately, you crashing it would be hard.
Yes.
So did you have certain oils that were supportive to you in that time?
Well, I have my little Zyto scanner, so I do my oil of the day. So DDR Prime was one of the oils that came up when I was really focusing on myself. So I took that internally and I just was kind of inhaling it. And that's kind of an oil that I don't really deal with like that. I remember when that oil would pop up, I say, oh, this is a DDR Prime. I wasn't as familiar with the physical. I always dealt with emotional and mental focused oils. So
Mhm.
that's why I love the emotions book because it was kind of relevant talking about, family ties, I think, and things of that nature. It was really, when I read it, it really resonated.
So interesting. I love when you start choosing ones that are weird and your body's asking, because it's listening to what your body wants without it having to be an intellectual choice.
Yes.
So I think that's amazing. You want me to
Thanks
you
for
want me to read it?
listening.
You want
Please.
me to
Thanks.
read it?
Thanks for listening, though. I love this safe place.
I love that you come here.
But please read and remind me because I totally forgot already. But when I read it, I said, yes, this makes sense.
Okay. So DDR is the oil of transformation. DDR Prime works emotionally as well as physically with the cycles of life and death and personal transformation. By putting off the old, individuals become free to experience the new. This is transformation. DDR Prime supports the body's sick or damaged cells to either transition to death or transform, repair, and renew. Through the help and support of this blend, individuals can assist their bodies, cells, energy, and emotions in returning to a balanced, healthy, and authentic state. DDR Prime is particularly supportive in releasing all types of negative family patterns, which are recorded in the body itself in the DNA. It is especially suited for those who struggle with debilitating circumstances, as it helps to relieve feelings of doubt, disbelief, despair, and burden. It teaches individuals to reclaim their life energy and to believe that change is possible. DDR Prime supports the process of regaining health and vitality by encouraging release of the old and birth of the new. Perfect.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Beautiful,
I had a
beautiful.
thought about what you shared. Do you want to hear it?
I would love to hear it. Feedback, please.
I feel like you broke a pattern because had you pushed through, do you think you would have felt resentful about not being well enough to go to your Pittsburgh thing?
Absolutely.
So you didn't do it.
I like that way of looking at it.
Yeah, I feel like you broke a pattern. That's so amazing.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is so amazing because my two sisters are looking at me like, I can't believe you were here, so thank you for being my sister here today that's rooting me on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Better to not be pissed off at them.
Right.
That's amazing. I over the weekend I'm still struggling with that shame spiral thing, and I'm catching myself being a little bit mad at myself. It's less about shame and more about anger. And I'm finding moments of when I'm taking it out on other people. So my kids or my husband. So before I went to bed last night, I was like, oh God, they're not going to bed when I want them to. And I still have to do the dishes. And I just was reminded that I don't need to hold on to these resentments, and that I need to stop and remember to be grateful. I have dishes to clean. My kids are healthy. So before I went to bed, I was like, okay, well, I'm being so pissy and ungrateful. So I pulled out my rose and vetiver and I put that on my wrist to forearm, because these are the pressure, the acupressure and acupuncture points for stress and balancing hormones. And I put it in my diffuser, and I feel like that really helped me calm down so that I can, stop playing the whatever that generational mom victim card, like, oh, I have to do everything and they're not helping me. And you know what I mean? So I wanted to shed that layer before I went to bed, because there's no reason. I'm not in Ukraine. I'm safely in my home. I'm not worried about, like us being bombed or anything like that. We have heat, we have food, have a warm bed, that kind of stuff. So there's something that I was in a meeting over on Friday, and a woman had shared, she's been in recovery for over 30 years, and her sponsee just passed away. But for 22 years, her sponsee would text her 5 things she was grateful for that day. And she would also do what's called a 10th step. And a 10th step is your short list inventory. So every day we have a few things that we think, oh, well, maybe I didn't communicate that well enough, and I need to revisit that conversation with someone. Or maybe I need to say sorry for something. So this doing a daily 10th step is just like making sure, you're cleaning your house every day, so that you don't build this huge thing of resentments and anger and miscommunications, which would result in needing to do a 4th step. which Deidre did the emotional spring cleaning with me. And that's basically what that would be, is as a yearly spring cleaning cleanup. But we do want to do that daily we want to think about the 5 things we're grateful for. And we want to have a chance to kind of journal. All right, I need to talk to this person tomorrow and reiterate and communicate, or I need to say sorry, something like that. So I did want to share that with you guys, because I haven't necessarily been doing that lately. And I think that's why I'm falling back into some old patterns. So if that happens to you though, and then you become aware of it, that's actually what we would call a recovery win, because you caught yourself. That is a win. If you are aware, then you're like, oh, okay. So that's actually a good thing too. Did anyone have I'm open for feedback. This is what we do in this, is to clearly communicate. I just needed for you guys to listen, and I don't want feedback, or yes, I would. And I'm open for feedback or comments.
What were the 10 steps? How do you
so
take
in the
inventory
12
and what do you ask yourself?
Oh, so in the 12 steps of recovery for emotional sobriety, or, things like for addiction, like me, a 10th step is a daily inventory. So I might think about having a challenge. If you had somebody in your life that you like to be held accountable for or with, you're like, I would like to text you my 5 great gratitudes a day for 10 days. Or we could put it in, I don't know, like on a Facebook group or something like that. If you guys would say, okay, every day I will post my 5 gratitudes. So we can mull around that if we'd like to do that.
Thanks so much for sharing about gratitude. I've been meditating and thinking a lot about being grateful and thankful, because I too, there's been lots of things going like this in my life, and I refuse to be down. So I said, I'm not going to focus on those things. And there's a song, and I actually sang it today during our prayer call. And the words are like, Lord, I thank you for these blessings you're giving me right now. Food on my table because you are so able. Activity of my limbs, my family, and my friends. I thank you for this day, blah, blah, blah. But again, I'm the same way. It's like a test, it's like a trick. So it's like, nope, this is the time to be super grateful for everything. So I really appreciate you sharing, to be reminded of, maybe there's a connection with some of the things I'm feeling or shame or whatever, versus am I expressing gratitude? Am I doing that? Did I forget to do that? So yeah, it's always a good reminder to be thankful and grateful and to actually quantify it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up prayer, because I think that helps us feel the emotion of gratitude. That people can say, well, this, if you just say it, it's just hot air. Like, you have to find, like, how can I connect spiritually so that I can feel, embody the gratitude.
And the last thing, I got my mom involved a couple weeks ago. I have this sticky notes for everything. So I had this 8 and a 11 by like 8.5, 8.5. What's the size of paper? I had
What is it? 10 by crystal
something
wood
like
now.
that. But I had the piece of paper, and in my mind, non-tangible, I just on a sticky note wrote, what am I most thankful for? Like, if I only had one thing to be thankful for, like what's the thing I could be thankful for? Because someone sent me a quote, if you only thank God for, like, if you only had today what you thank God for yesterday, what would you have? So if you didn't thank God for your hands yesterday, you wouldn't have any hands the next day. So again, I just play all types of tricks with myself to get myself, back on track. So I wrote, I think I came up with like 10 things non-tangible that I could be thankful for. And then I start like writing specific people. And I kind of just look at that list and see if I can add to it, like genuine things, not just, but really like, wow. So thanks again for reminding us about gratitude and Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Have you noticed on a lot of like diet books or they'll do 21 days?
Yes, I have noticed.
So they figured out to make new paths, new patterns, new habits in your brain. I call it, so it's like neural pathways. I call them deer paths. So when you go walking and you go hiking and you see that little skinny trail and you're like, oh, that's a deer path. So we're making new deer paths by creating a new habit and committing to 21 days. So it's something to think about too.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'd love to hear how you are, Deidre.
Well, had kind of a rough weekend. So I've been here in Laramie, and there are a couple things on my bucket list that I've wanted to do. And one of them was driving down to Fort Collins and checking out the area, going out to eat or whatever. Well, my son got a new girlfriend that he's crazy about. And he came home and he announced that he was taking her to dinner in Fort Collins, which is where I wanted to go. And I've kind of, it was like, he's been spending so much time with her. It was like a vacuum, and I felt kind of shafted. And I was just like confused, but it goes back to expectations. And because he wasn't around, I felt kind of like, and even when he is around, he's like, we don't really sit and talk that much, which I'd like to. But today I was thinking, okay, well, there are expectations that I put on him. I mentioned that I would have loved to go down to Fort Collins, go out to eat. And he's like, well, why don't you ever tell me? It's like that assuming thing. And so we're okay today. We're fine. I got over it. But it was just, I was so angry with him Saturday night. And I don't know, I guess it's because, well, he leaves at like 9 a.m. and he gets home at anywhere between 5 to 8 o'clock at night. Or he'll get home at like 5 to 6, and then he goes to the gym and he gets home again at like 8:30. And so there's not a lot of time. So it's just something to talk to him about and get past that emotion. Feel kind of sorry for him because he's the only one around. My husband's been trying to get home for like 2 weeks and he couldn't because of weather. And so I haven't had that mental support.
Yeah.
So I'm open to comments, suggestions. Today I got up and I was kind of tired and sore. And so I just started diffusing adaptive, and it helped right off the bat. So
yeah. I just want to acknowledge that I'm proud of you for feeling your feelings. It's not easy to stay in it and feel them. And I can hear your, in the emotion in your voice. So I'm just I'm proud of you for for staying in it.
Okay, thank you. This is what I'm yelling at. I have these howling dogs.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know what
surprised
they
it's
heard.
not my dogs right now.
My pet. But thank you.
Yeah.
That's amazing that
Sometimes
adaptive has been helping you.
sometimes it just takes a while to arrive at what's actually bothering you and what's going on. It's kind of annoying because when you feel these feelings and you can't get there, then you're annoyed at yourself. It's like, what is bothering me? I don't understand this. This is just, it's just, uncalled for.
Yeah.
And so it part of it is denying my own emotions too, I guess. But better today. The weekend's over.
One thing that you can use this as an opportunity is to notice how you would act out by not having your needs met. So like if you're like, okay, if you catch yourself being like more sarcastic or there's just some, you know what I mean? I'll have to think about this. There's a certain withholding because your needs weren't met. You can recognize like, oh, okay, that's something that I might have done in the past. But if I were to, now that you're aware of it, there was a layer of expectation, you know, and then you're like, okay, so we know that I did that had nothing to do with them. And what would I have done in the past? Would I have, not talked to them for a little bit? That's my old thing, stonewalling. If I'm upset and I don't feel my needs have met, then I'm like, okay, I'm done. We're not talking. But, stuff like that. So it is an opportunity. I know it sucks, but it helps us see ourselves in what we would have done before and what we can change this time.
Are you ladies able to hear me?
Yes.
It's really weird. I don't know. It's a little weird thing that I'm seeing, but I'm glad you can hear me. And I love how you mentioned adaptive. I don't know if you all ever saw the 21 day, doTERRA had this 21-day thing. And I kind of do that sometimes, like morning, afternoon, and evening, like different habits. And one of the habits was during the day, putting deep blue rub on your neck. And I found that to be very helpful because it just makes everything feel so good. But another thing I thought about when you were talking was stretching. Sometimes stretching isn't just making your body flexible, but it's also making, your emotions and everything flexible. So stretching might be a nice thing to do in the evening or in the morning to just help loosen things up for you, not just your physical body, but, even emotionally as well.
Yeah, I like that that adjective, emotional stretching.
Yes. Oh, wow. I've not heard that before.
I think
Emotional.
you just invented it.
I'll claim it then. I'm gonna write that down.
I'm gonna write it down. I feel like it's important. Okay. Well, do we have any more comments?
I have a comment. This is Jill.
Jill?
So after my first time in this class last Monday, I spoke with Shannon outside of the class, of course, and it brought some clarity and peace back into my life. I haven't spoke with her in a while, and we were very close and connected, and always would have our check-ins and make sure we're caring for ourselves. And this class basically like brought that back too. And afterwards we had conversations, and I shared emotions with her about things I was dealing with at home. And just like the same day, I just started seeing like the works of me and her praying and just believing that things were going to happen. And it was like the same day. And then like 2 days later, like my son had been gone from home for a while, and he ended up coming home, and relationships are getting restored. But I can't remember if it was Wednesday evening or Thursday, but I put wild orange in the diffuser when I was going to bed. And then I pulled up my essential emotions to read about it. And the day before, my husband picked up this book that I asked him about reading a while ago, but he didn't take into consideration. But out of nowhere on Monday, he said, I'm gonna read me a book and I'm gonna start clearing my head. So the book is called Reclaiming the Male Spirit, and
Mm.
it's by Ayana Vanzant. I don't know how to say her last name, but either way, what ended up happening is that book started working on inner children emotions and holding so much in from our childhood. And like, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, but anyways, I put wild orange in the diffuser, and we're laying in the bed, and then we're just like breathing. He was like, that's citrus. And I was like, yeah, it's wild orange. And he was like, it smells good. I'm like, I know, it just helps with sleeping and resting. And then I started reading about wild orange, and it like helps open up your inner child and like all these different emotions and things. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I started telling him about it and reading it to him. It was like 3 a.m, and he just got off work. He's like, okay, okay, babe, okay. But he was listening, and he was like, well, that's just amazing that you picked that. And I picked it for the sleep support, but not knowing that it was really helping us. And the next day, we like opened up and had confessions to each other, and
Mm.
literally was like, I have a confession. I have a confession. And it's like small things about like what irritates us or whatever, but it started something. So it's just beautiful. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful for this class. I'm grateful for you, Shannon, and the text I got in the middle of the week with the squirrel in the picture helped me too. Like it's just different things. And I'm just grateful to be here, and I appreciate everything.
Oh, I'm so glad you shared.
Mhm.
There's a,
Yeah.
can I make a suggestion?
Please, I'm here to listen and learn.
There is an app. I'm trying to remember the name. It's by Dr. Gottman. And I think if you just type in the App Store, Gottman, Gottman,
Mhm.
and it what you do is you sit with a partner. It's called Gottman card decks. And it's like questions that you can like little kind of like one's called love maps. That's where you answer questions about your partner, and then it tells you how well you know them. And then it tells you categories you could work on. And this is what it looks like.
Okay.
And there's open-ended questions, rituals of connection, date questions. And then it also has a card deck that says, I feel, this yellow one.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps you figure out what you're feeling. You kind of just swipe through them and you're like, oh yeah, I do feel disbelieving, or, kind of some adjectives that we wouldn't have chosen had we not read it.
Mm.
So that's my
Amazing.
recommendation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome. Well, I think we did amazing. So thank you for you guys for coming and being vulnerable and creating this amazing healing circle. So
Thank you.
yeah, you guys have a really great day, and we'll see you on Monday.
You do the same. Take care. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.